Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Okay, so on a recent journey between the district of Selby and the City of Leeds, I had to cross the borough of Harrogate. There's a very strange part of that district which loops down in between Leeds and Selby, and I thought, what's the point in just going across it without actually doing the village that's within that strip of land? Welcome to Harrogate for the very first time. This is Wighill. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Harrogate for the very first time. Today we're in Wighill, which sits on a small strip of land between the district of Selby in North Yorkshire and the City of Leeds in West Yorkshire. Starting on York Road, we'll be walking from one end of the village to the other. The village is a long ribbon development and it's set in the heart of very productive farmland. Wighill is close to the River Wharfe, 6 miles east of Wetherby and 3 miles north of Tadcaster. It just lies within the Ainsty, the River Wharfe forming the southern boundary of both. Historically, Wighill was the property of the Stapleton family, who possessed this estate for upwards of 500 years before it became the property of Richard Fountayne Wilson Esquire, Lord of the Manor. In the early Saxon days, Wighill was known as Wiheal and was possibly the site of an historic Anglo-Saxon massacre in 1016. Today, the village is a much more peaceful place. It may have also had a history of flax milling, it seems, if this house is anything to go by. Whilst it has no post office, it does retain a post box, which is outside this property as well. Your public transport needs are served by the number 37 bus, which runs between Tadcaster and York. Keep that number in mind, we'll see it again in future episodes. The village has one public house, the White Swan Inn, which reopened on the 23rd of October 2009 after a 2-year closure. Outside the Swan is, well, a swan, and you have to applaud Yorkshire humour here because, as you can see, it's wearing a flat cap. Yorkshire clubber done right. Notable people from Wighill in the past have included John Dawson, who was a cricketer, and the Reverend George Walker, who fought in the Battle of the Boyne in Ireland and died on the battlefield. And so to the phone box. Now, I may well have some new viewers with this video, seeing as we're just starting the district. One thing I like to find in these are book exchanges, like this one is. So my very glamorous assistant is going to open the door of the book exchange so we can all have a look inside. There we go.
Some good stuff in there.
The parish notice board is right next to the phone box. This is something else the newbies amongst you will need to know. I always leave a TVI card if there's a board to mark that I've been. At this point, the road bends to the left and turns into Church Lane. The first thing you see after turning the corner is the old Wesleyan chapel, now converted into a dwelling. It should be noted that Wighill's parish boundaries have historically covered 3 other areas, the most interesting of these being East Follyfoot, now a lost settlement. The other two are Easdyke and Moat House, which were essentially isolated farms. There's also a fourth area, Wighill Park, which we'll talk more about on our way back through the village. At this western end of Wighill, the road starts to climb quite steeply. We're heading for the village's most iconic landmark, All Saints Church. Next door to the church is Brook Hall, a rural mansion built in 1835 with incredible unspoilt views of the local landscape. It's now a hotel. So despite the fact that Wighill has that rather large bend right in the middle of it, it's still a linear village, meaning the houses cling to both sides of one road. At the other end of the village, we have the church. Let's go and have a look at that. All Saints Church is a Grade 1 listed building and has one of the best preserved Norman doorways in Yorkshire, in much the same way as the neighbouring village of Healaugh. Check out this lamp in the churchyard. It never ceases to amaze me how many different styles of these there are around. This one looked positively ancient, but pretty cool with it. The church is pleasantly situated on a commanding eminence, contiguous to the village. It was also open, so we took the opportunity to have a look inside. It's got an ancient font first of all. Above it hangs the funeral hatchments of the Stapleton family. The royal coat of arms of George III hangs on the west wall, and the pulpit is 17th century. Then there's a monument to Sir Robert Stapleton, who was an MP and died in 1634, aged just 33. His children are kneeling at his feet with the arms of Stapleton and Fairfax in the centre. I particularly like the huge window at the far end of the chancel. Notable too are the poppy head pews, which are 15th century and are believed to be some of the earliest pews still in use today. So the thumbnail of this video, the village sign is at the other end, but I assume this sign here, seeing as it's right close to the church, will be up this end somewhere. Nikki just spotted this. Good spot, Nikki. Here's that south doorway with its splendid decorative zigzag carvings and beakheads, which are a feast for the eyes. These have been well documented by the corpus of Romanesque sculpture. Out into the churchyard once again, and we come to a grave with an anchor on it. You might recall the Curtain episode in East Suffolk, where there was a grave just like this too. Nikki sat down for a while on this bench, which is practically the same one as in Oxton in Selby, having been placed here in 1953 for that royal occasion that everyone knows about. And in the meantime, I went off to find the other village sign, the one we've just seen on the photograph in the church. I ended up with this pretty little shot. Okay, time to walk back from whence we came, back down the hill to where we began. And now to walk back. On the way, we're going to pass the entrance to a caravan site named Wighill Manor Caravan Site, and its name is everything to do with where it's located. That would be up the avenue which leads to Wighill Park. Wighill Manor is a Grade 2 listed house and was built in 1791 on the site of an original house which was built in 1580 by Sir Robert Stapleton. The original house was pulled down because it did not have a ballroom, and a new hall was built further into the park. The house is built using the same stone as York Minster. All that's left to do now is walk back up York Road to where we began. Tick it off, people, that's the first one down in Harrogate. And there you have it, we're virtually back where we began, at the other end of Wighill. Time for you guys to have the first picture bit in the Harrogate series. Here that comes right now. Okay, so that's the first village, first parish down in Harrogate. And I don't know when I'm going to be back into this district, because as I said at the start, this was a special one because it was between Selby and Leeds, so it didn't make sense to not catch it on my way from Selby into Leeds. So I don't know when I'm going to be back to do the rest of the district, but hopefully it won't be too much longer. And you never know, Nikki might be here as well.
I'd like it. I quite like this village. It's got a nice mixture of property. It's got some older stuff, some new stuff, some Edwardian, some Georgian, some lovely features, great looking pub, which I'd love to come and try out one day, hint hint. You know, and a few sort of, you know, bits about this village that just kind of really struck me and will stick in my mind. So yeah, I'd like to see more of this district for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Harrogate's a big old place. It's got 101... Now, at this point, I'll cut in over the top of our conversation because I made a really daft mistake here. We were talking about how Harrogate has now only got 100 to go, thanks to it having 101 parishes. I was mistakenly thinking of Richmondshire instead of Harrogate. That's the one that's got 101 in North Yorkshire. Harrogate has 139. So it was a little bit of wishful thinking. There's still 138 left to go. Welcome. For now, this has been the Parish of Wighill, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.